Sometimes you can do everything right and still get cheated on. You could be super gorgeous, you could be loving, you can be intelligent, and yes, you can be really, really feminine, and they could still cheat. Why? Because cheating has so much more to do with their wiring, their wounding, their choices than it does with you. Now, that does not mean that you can't protect yourself. Today we're talking about how not to get cheated on. Hi, my name is Mina Irfan, and I am a 8-time certified life coach and spiritual mentor. This is something not only that I have helped many clients with, but unfortunately, it's also something that I have personally been through. So what I would like to do is share with you 3 main points in this video. In part 1, we're going to talk about why people cheat. In part 2, we're going to talk about red flags to look out for. And in part 3, we're going to talk about what you can do to protect yourself even if you are already married. In part 1 of why people cheat, I'm going to actually talk about 3 different reasons. Reason number 1 is because they carry a certain genome that makes them more likely to cheat. And men and women both have this genome. If you really look at our evolutionary history, there were 2 paths that human beings, Homo sapiens, took to ensure the survival of the genome. Evolution really cares about getting our genes into the next generation. And so there were 2 mechanisms that did that. Group A of people found out that if they were monogamous and if they were in happy families together, then that would mean that there were 2 parents available and 2 sets of families, grandparents, aunts, and uncles available, and that would ensure that their children survived into the next generation. Group 2 decided that the best way that they could ensure that their genome went into the next generation was to actually have as many babies as possible with as many people as possible. And so both of these types of people have generally survived. We have that genome. In fact, there are 2 genes that have been associated with this, and I've got my notes over here, and so I might be looking down. This is known as the hunter genome, alpha gene, and now it's estimated that about 10% of the human population currently has this gene. So we can guess that it's 5% females, 5% men. The 2 types are DRD4 and DRD2. This is also known as the addiction gene, the alcoholics gene, the cheater's genome. Now, having this gene does not mean that you're definitely going to cheat. It just means that you are more likely to. You can always decide not to do so. Typically, people that have this hunter-huntress genome, they are novelty-seeking, risk-taking, impulsive. If you really look at a lot of the current billionaires, that make it to that level of status, they also generally have the habit of marrying a lot of different people or having a lot of babies with a lot of people. That's where that's coming from, okay? So that's reason number 1. And I do want to just preface that, hey, if you're married to a hunter or if you are a huntress, this doesn't mean that you don't have choice, right? There's also epigenetics. You can choose not to cheat. What I've seen in my practice is that people that have this genome that had parents that cheated and they end up cheating, if they learn their lesson the hard way through deep loss and grief, they can choose not to cheat moving forward just because of the really, really hard lesson that they learned. It could also be that maybe their parents cheated on each other, or one parent cheated, and there was a really big traumatic event because of that divorce in their childhood, and they decided that they were never going to do that. So I'm just giving that kind of as a disclaimer that I don't want you to walk around living in fear. Number 2 reason why people cheat is emotional and psychological reasons, right? It could be a cry for help. It could be unmet needs. It could be lack of communication. It's kind of like that final thing that someone will do to get their partner's attention if their partner has not been listening to them, is not meeting their needs, and it's not emotionally available for them to be able to have that conversation. In that scenario, those are the best candidates, I feel like, to really repair the relationship, where there are 2 people willing to take personal responsibility for their part and do something about it. The third reason that people cheat is simply just self-sabotage. Honestly, I call this container work in my practice, because sometimes, people have these really big desires to meet the love of their life, and then they actually meet that person, get married to that person, but their nervous system doesn't allow these new blessings to compound, and so they will sabotage themselves by cheating on their partner, and a lot of times losing it all. Part 2 is red flags to look out for, and there's 4 different things that you can look out for. Number 1 is family history. So if they had a father or a mother that cheated, and that could actually show you that maybe they have the gene, the cheater's gene. Now, again, that doesn't mean that they're also going to cheat, but you can start looking at the family history of maybe their father cheated, their grandfather cheated, their brother cheated. That can show you. Now, this can also have the opposite effect. Like I said in the first part, if they have a traumatic experience because of a family member cheating, this could make them decide that they're never, ever, ever going to do that to their partner. And so even if they are the gene carrier, they're not going to cheat. Number 2 is social circle. Oh my God, this one's huge. In my 20s, I was married very young, very stupid, and I got pregnant on the wedding night. And soon after that, I found out that my now ex-husband was cheating, and I felt devastated. It was such a traumatic and just life-altering event for me. It ruined my first pregnancy. And one of the biggest red flags was all of his friends were cheaters. And I knew at that time that some of his friends were cheaters. And when you're that young, I was 22 when I got married, you're just dumb and stupid. And that was a big red flag. And so look out for who are his friends and what is their behavior. Because if they're normalizing cheating, then, that's going to have an effect on us. Those sayings that we are the 5 people that we hang out with? That's true. At the end of the day, we're tribal creatures, and we normalize whatever is happening in our circle. There's this beautiful study that showed that your performance goes up if you are sitting next to, your performance goes up by 30% if you're sitting next to other high performers, and your performance goes down by 15% if you're sitting next to low performers. And so this was a study done on like high performance athletes and things like that. But isn't that interesting? And so yes, watch out for friendships. Number 3 is history of dishonesty, thrill-seeking addiction. Again, that cheater's genome is also associated with gambling. It's also associated with alcoholism, drug taking. And again, there's always nuances and caveats, but if they have one of those things going on, they're more likely to have others. In fact, I actually know someone that got married to someone that had gambling tendencies and alcoholism. They ignored all the red flags, got married, and eventually that person also ended up cheating because they have an addiction problem. So that could be a red flag as well. 4th red flag is patterns of secrecy, phone hiding, emotional withdrawal, inconsistent stories, disappearing for long periods, things like that, right? It seems obvious in hindsight, but at the time they always say the right things. They always have a way with words. They always blame other people. Spoiler alert, by the way, even though when this happened to me, I was pregnant, I was a full-time student, I had a real estate business, I was really stressed out. This was one of the most stressed out times of my life. I was literally afraid for my unborn child because I was so stressed out. Now, looking back 21 years later, it was honestly the best thing that ever happened to me, because all of the success and happiness and joy that I have in my life is because of that situation. I had to do a lot of inner work after that. I had to really take personal responsibility for my part, the decisions I was making, the inner work, the personal development. And I'm here to tell you that if that has happened to you, girl, you're gonna be fine. I know it's going to be super devastating when you're going through it, but that's going to lead to you doing the kind of inner work and personal development that is going to make you the top 1% of the top 1%. If I could go back and speak to my younger self, that's what I would tell her. I would say, oh my God, you have no idea what's coming for your way. You're going to meet your soulmate. You're going to make millions of dollars doing what you love. Your son is going to turn out to be an amazing, well-rounded, amazing, loving human being. You're going to go on to have 2 more children. You're going to be living your dream life, girl. Like, get over it. Okay, so in part 3, we're going to talk about some things that you can do to protect yourself. And then at the end, I'm going to be sharing with you a final transmission to make sure that you are not living in fear. Once you are putting in all the things to protect yourself, I want you to rest assured, because who wants to be spending their entire life obsessing over something that you actually can't even control to begin with? Before I share with you things that you can do to protect yourself, I do want to say that I am not an attorney. I'm a life coach, and these are just things that I've learned from my own experiences and through the experiences of my clients. So please make sure that you do consult your own attorney to make sure that everything I'm saying is relevant to your specific situation and to your state and country. So I work with really high achieving, successful, driven women who have worked really, really hard to have success in their life. They're educated, they've got the degrees, they've got the certifications, they've got the assets. And of course, rightfully so, they're afraid that someone will come and not only hurt their heart, but steal everything that they've worked really hard to secure for themselves. And so the first thing I want to say is that if you are not married right now, one thing you can do is look into not only a prenup, but there's wealth management and wealth preserving vehicles that you can use to sort of secure your wealth. Prenups are good, but this takes it to a whole nother level so that your assets are really, really secured in the event that you do get cheated on or something happens and you have to get a divorce. So that's something I would look at an attorney that specializes in that. Find one in your state and ask them that what are other things I can do beyond just a prenup, okay? Prenups are good, but I do know for a fact that there's definitely other things that you can do that really secure your wealth. Now, you might be wondering, what if you're already married? I have heard some horror stories of really successful content creators, YouTubers, people with huge digital empires that actually built all of their wealth after getting married and then found out that their partner was cheating, and then their partner claimed their YouTube channel or their assets, and not only were they going to lose their marriage, their security, their safety, but they were going to actually lose the thing that was bringing them their livelihood. If this is you, where you have started now, creating wealth, but you're already married, and if this keeps you up at night, I want you to know that there is something called a postnup. You can go see your attorney and talk to them about creating this. So this is for people that are already married and who want to make sure that in the unfortunate event that there is a divorce, your assets, certain things belong to you. The third thing you can do to protect yourself is something that my clients already have, but a lot of people don't. And this is, girl, get your education and stack your skill sets. You never know what life is going to throw on you. Even if he doesn't cheat on you, I have had many clients that got widowed really, really young. And if I share my own story, this will help you. Even though when I got married to my husband 17 years ago, he retired me from my real estate business. I was a burned out single mom. I needed that time. I immediately started putting things in place. First of all, I had a very highly income producing degree that I could always fall back on. I had all of this real estate experience that I could always fall back on. And the other thing I did is, even though I was now a stay-at-home mom, I started putting in different things in place. I started skill stacking. So within months of getting married, I started a blog. Within a year of that, I started this YouTube channel. And within 6 or 7 years, I monetized this YouTube channel by launching a life coaching business, right? And my husband is an amazing, honest man of integrity, provides for me everything, but that doesn't mean that I'm not gonna have something of my own. And that wasn't like a fail-safe system. It was just because I believe that human beings love to create, and we need to have something of our own. So when I see women just like ditching school, not getting any skills, completely blindly trusting a man, even if you're married to an amazing man, I feel like when you're not living your full potential, sometimes God will pull the rug from underneath your feet just to teach you how to stand up for yourself. So I believe that every single person should have their own skill sets. They should have their own assets. I think this is an important part of our growth and evolution, especially as women. We've never been allowed to have the kind of property that we have now, the kind of money that we can make, the kind of skill sets that we can have. And I think that every single woman should exercise that right. And a final thing I'm going to say for how you can protect yourself is have your families involved. When there's a lot at stake for the man and for the woman, their families are involved in the marriage, they vetted the guy perfectly. I share a lot of this in my work. This is such an important part. When there's an easy out for him, like he can slip through the cracks and like there's no consequences, there's no public shaming through family and friends, they're more likely to do it, right? It's just human nature, whether you like it or not, it is what it is. And so that's why a big part of my advice to clients and students is always have your family involved in properly vetting him, his family involved in the process, and that will secure longevity. My culture has a very, very, very tiny divorce rate, and I believe one of the reasons is because the families are involved in the process of getting married. I once had a mentor say to me that I hope all of your biggest fears in life come true so you can realize how big and strong you are. And I was like, cancel. I do not want all of my fears to come true. I'll just realize I'm strong without that. Thank you very much. However, as I look back to my journey, here's the thing. I got cheated on. And here I am, okay? At the time, it was devastating. And so what? So what? Yes, it was devastating at the time. Yes, I thought my life was over. Yes, I thought this was the end of the world. And 21 years later, here I am. Successful, happily married, joyful, passionate about my love. And the truth is that marriage, that situation, that needed to happen. It needed to happen for my growth. It needed to happen for me to reclaim my power, to know my worth. All of that was a necessary part of my story. I honestly would not change anything, because if this is how my life turned out, who knows if I changed any one thing in the past, if I would still have arrived to this beautiful position that I'm in now. And so at the end of the day, someone else not being able to control themselves has nothing to do with you. You are a powerful woman. Yes, it's going to be devastating if this is happening to you or it's happened to you, and you're going to be so much stronger for it. The other thing I want to say is that there's no point to living in fear. Because this already happened to me and I already survived it, I do not live in fear, worrying if my husband's gonna cheat on me or not. If he does, he does. And I will lovingly release him, thank him for a beautiful marriage, and move on with my life. I'm not saying I'm not human. I'm not saying it's not gonna hurt. I'm not saying it's not gonna be devastating for a moment. But one thing I've learned as a 44-year-old woman is that everything in life passes. The good, the bad, the ugly, it's all momentary. And the most important thing is the meaning that we assign to it. If we assign negative meanings to everything, then our life will turn out negative. But if we say, you know what, I'm not sure of if this is a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know how this is going to pan out. I don't know what God has in store for me. If I keep my mind open to all of life's situations, all of duality, then I know that I have the beautiful opportunity of turning everything into gold. And so I hope this video was helpful for you. Please do not live in fear. If it happens, you will be sad, and then you're gonna get over it and you're going to be stronger for it. I love you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.